Well, hello, my friends. Something a little bit different today. I got inspired to go out for a bike ride. You see, my bike is all parked up over here, and where I am is actually one of my old schools. I don't mean like old school, like the phrase, I mean literally my old school. And the reason why I'm doing this little bit of an edited series today is for the purpose of explaining and talking about how our past influences and psychology, be it that this my channel focuses on both the music, audio gear, and the people in the community. And there's a lot of controversy going around right now about who you can trust and who's telling the truth, and how reviewers and whatnot say certain things, and what's the facts, and what's what we're interested in. Anyhow, part of this is to talk about sort of like my past, where I came from, the neighborhood I grew up in, some of the influences that incurred during my time at some of these schools and some of these areas. I've been in the same neighborhood for more than 30 years. So the purpose of my being out here today is to also change up the video format a little bit, take advantage of the fact that there's no sun in the sky today. It's actually a little bit hazy, so to speak. And I wanted to just talk about how important it is to be aware of our influences, not just in terms of like marketing, advertising, people in sales trying to get your money, but I also mean like the way people speak, their choices, their decisions, the way they vote, the way that they see the world, the way that they project their issues, the things that they ask, the kinds of questions you might see, the way that they look at things in the world. Our perspectives are built on our history. And the reason why I'm revisiting my history sometimes in the neighborhood that I still live in after 30 years is to think about how it affects the things that I say, the things that I care about, the reasons why I stand up for justice and fairness, and the reason why most recently some of my peers have called me a gatekeeper, because I was addressing the fact that some community personnel and spokespeople and channel owners shared leaked images from a company that we all supposedly respect. Now, personally, I understand that we're in the economy of attention, and things that you can do for attention get you the clicks and views. But morally speaking, I don't know why anyone that's in a media space who relies on viewership and trust would break a company's trust and share something that was leaked. To me, that makes no sense. And as a person who has my background and things that have happened to me, I want to stand up for truth and honesty and call that out, to say, hey, if we're in this space for people to trust us, to tell the truth, to speak transparently, to be authentic, why are we engaging in the perpetual sort of act of violating policy and betraying a company's trust? To me, that makes no sense. As a friend, as a peer, as a person in the media space, I have this sense of justice and this sense of moral code that I can't ignore. When I see something like that, I have to speak up for it. Why would that be the case? Well, maybe I'm outside this school because a lot of things when I was a kid, I was bullied as a kid. I saw really bad crimes as a kid. This neighborhood is not all that great. Every city's got them. The things that I experienced in my childhood, in my family, in my personal life, in my friends' lives, around me in schools, led me to see the value of telling the truth, of representing something that's meaningful, for not cheating and lying and stealing and doing all kinds of things just to get ahead, because it never pays. It's never paid. In the short term, you might see some gains for it, but in the end, these kinds of people are dangerous. They're not trustworthy. They are definitely going to get you in trouble. And when I was a kid, that's what happened. I got into trouble. I mean, being on a schoolyard like this, now this is very different. There were no trees here before. These rocks were not here before. There's a sand pit there for like long jump we used to use. I believe there was another one over here. And this school has been here since the 50s or 60s. So I mean to say that I don't want to come down harshly or undue harshness on my friends and peers. But the thing is, there's a real value in telling the truth, because there are plenty of companies and plenty of people and individuals who are willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get your money, to manipulate the world and politics in an media space that I fell in love with when I was a kid, because it helped me express myself, it helped me learn things, it helped me meet new friends. I don't feel like allowing things that compromise that value. I don't feel like standing by idly and keeping my mouth closed when people are doing wrong and acting in such a way that confuse or otherwise make our community worse. That's my history. That's my background. That's the reason why I stand up for those things. So I'm going to ride over to another school. This was my junior school. So this was in what I would think in two different parts, because I was at a different school between this one, and I'm not sure if I'm going to ride to that one first or not, but we'll see. I'm closer to my high school than I am this middle school, but we'll see. It's not that far. I may just do that. So I was in this school from grade 1 to 3, and then I ran into some issues because of dyslexia and the teachers and the school board and not being recognized. So I moved to another school, in which I will show you in just a moment. And welcome back. I know I'm going to have to edit all of this one. What am I in? 16:9 ratio? That's good. Here's another school that I used to go to. This was actually a school that I changed to after some of the issues at the previous school. So I don't know if anybody's switched schools in their lives, but when you go from one environment knowing some of the processes, teachers, friends, certain areas. I lived in the same place, but a lot of my friendships, they changed in time. I went from an environment that I was familiar with somewhat. I mean, how familiar can you really be in grade 2? You're not all that aware, but at those developmental ages in your life, it's very significant. We pick up on a lot of things that are going on. So both in my family life and my school life, I was disrupted at that time and came to this school, which also had French immersion. I am in Canada. We have the option of learning French, or usually mandatory learning French when you're in Canada in Canadian schools. And I was in an environment now that had much more French, which was interesting because growing up dyslexic, English was hard enough. And that was the reason why I ended up having to transfer schools. This school represented more opportunity for my learning and special learning than the other school did. So I learned how to adapt. I had to learn new friends. I had to learn some new ways. I had to adjust to things. It's not to say that bullying stopped. It's not to say that trouble stopped. This neighborhood and environment just bred those things, but I had to change my mind frame, and I had to learn how to accommodate into a new space. Some interesting things happened here. This school, I found some of my early friends. We used to play like all kinds of catch and football on the field here. I wouldn't say football per se, but more like soccer. I remember one year way over in the distance. I'm not going to be over there today. There's some families there, but that playground one year flooded, and it was in the winter. And I remember I remember there being a $5 bill frozen in the ice, and I was so determined, even at that age, to make and earn and get that money that I chipped the ice and I took the $5 bill out from under the ice. I remember that very vividly. So some very interesting things happen here. This school introduced me to some new bullies, things that they would do. It taught me who to trust and who to rely on, which kinds of people. Like as you get older, kids get older, their personalities change. You have to adapt and learn new things. And that's what it showed me. It showed me the possibilities of people's influence, the things that they would do, the results of their household. When I left this school, I went back to the other one we were just at, and this school goes from a certain grade to grade 5. The other school I was showing you to begin with went from like kindergarten to grade 9, which is the transition point, or grade 8, which is the transition point here in Canada, to grade 9, which is considered high school. It may be different everywhere. Everybody's education system is slightly different. I'm trying to be all-encompassing. After this school, yes, I transferred to the other one again. re-met some of the friends I knew 3 years prior, but we were all older. We were all a little bit older at that point. I would say maybe in my 13th year, I was influenced by my friends from this school and got into shoplifting, went through the court system when I was very young, 12, 13. Very, very bad things, influenced by my peer group to do things that were not the best for me. I got in trouble, I learned my lesson, listening to my mom, who was always very wise and came from a very troubled background and also small communities, learned how to survive. She was a very, very good source of guidance. Went back to the other school, met some friends that I used to know, got acquainted with them, started what I would call dating, not really dating, but being interested, like when you're in, grade 7, 8, you're coming into that age, 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe grade 9, at that age, that's when things start to get a little more complicated. Different politics start to happen. You start to realize that people can lie and cheat and tell stories and make up things, and then you get looked at a certain way and you get into this interpersonal conflict. That's not dissimilar to what people get fixated on in their adult lives. Things that we experience when we're young carry with us through adulthood if we don't deal with them. That's what therapy's for. If we don't recognize the influences that occurred when we're young, we grow up and speak about them as adults within our peer groups, whether we're defending ourselves or we're seeking some sort of validation, or if we're looking to stand up for certain things, like I mentioned mine with justice and telling the truth. We get them from when we were young. I don't know what's going on there, but somebody will find that on Monday. It carries with us. Psychology isn't the kind of thing that's just in the background. It's not a catchphrase. It's not some kind of word that just gets applied when you talk about it. Psychology is the first and foremost thing that goes on in our lives. It really dictates a lot of things that we do. My attempt here on my channel to talk about psychology with audio is the fact that I know and became self-aware of how it influenced me. And I'm going to ride over to what I call my high school, which is where my hi-fi journey actually started. So bear with me, and we'll see you in a couple minutes. Or you, it'll be a couple seconds. Me, I got to ride up the street. All right, we'll be back in a minute. Well, my friends, of all the days for me to come and check out my old high school, which is where I am now, it's actually funny, a couple doors down over here, the old wood shop that I first made my first speaker boxes, a pair of subwoofers using car audio subwoofers, dual voice coil, things like that. This is where my interest in woodworking, the electronics, the idea of sound and quality, I was introduced to family friends who had audio systems at home, Bryston, Paradigm, things like that from the 80s, 90s. This was in the 90s by the time I was in high school. And at that time, I got interested in how this stuff works, making speaker boxes out of old water beds, getting old furniture off the street like tables and whatever, and just making boxes. At that time in Canada, we had Radio Shack, and Radio Shack used to have components that you could buy, like crossovers, speaker drivers, certain things like that. I would make cabinets out of whatever I could find. So at this school, just down I don't know if I'm allowed to show it because there's an event going on here today. Of all the days for me to try to do this ADHD, there's an event here for what's called the Chef's Harvest. So it's like 30 years of Ontario farming and chefs. And this is the Harvest Festival or Harvest Party, where a lot of these tents are set up with different vendors, and I guess they represent different culinary backgrounds or different organizations. And I had no idea this was going to be here, but it's here, and I'm just trying to be polite by staying out of the way and filming the school. So the school property is here, and they're using some of the mechanical sort of ventilation you can see there behind that. There we go. Try to keep the people out of there. So this equipment here on the left, the right side of the screen, is the ventilation and vacuum system for the wood shop. I had no idea this was going to be here, but I wanted to come down and right over here on the outside of this building, you can see these hoses that are right here. This is the chemistry lab where we actually used to do chemical and chemical reactions, biology, things like that. So this is a chemistry lab that was in my high school. On the other end, around the corner, there's a full culinary kitchen for the like hospitalities and cook staff for the lunchroom. Students used to make the lunches for the whole school and cafeteria. I believe that's still the case. I haven't been here in many years. And then down the hallway from that, there's the first music room, which I was privileged to have in my high school, where I learned how to play drums. I experimented with playing in bands. I learned to get along with friends that had different opinions and work as a team to create bands at the time. I performed in a talent show. We won that talent show with my friends that year. So there was a music room here, and then on the other side down the hallway, there's an auto mechanic room where you could actually do like auto body work and learn about cars and fix car engines, and you could work on things like that all inside this school. In fact, inside one of these rooms back in the day when I was here, one of these rooms was a photo there's a photo lab inside, but there's a video editing software, like not software, but video editing suite where you could use VHS tapes to dub from one tape to another. This school, as a matter of influence in my neighborhood when I was growing up, gave me so much opportunity, so many things that I could learn from, and I did experiment with all of them. So my background was very rich with different kinds of disciplines: video, photography, culinary, woodworking, music, auto mechanics, like chemistry. It's all here. And now, if I was to walk around this corner, down the side of the building here, they have I say nursery, but I mean like planting, like gardens, trees. So they've actually reinforced the idea of like botany and forestry at this school. Unbelievable. This school has actually been in the neighborhood for many, many, many years. A lot of people that I know are alumni from this school. They do like a Facebook group, and I'm not going to tell you the name of the school, know where it is, because there's no reason for that. But yeah, this is one of those things where a school like this in a neighborhood can provide so much influence and so much learning ability and leave such a long-lasting impression on us for our whole lives, that places like this inspire the rest of our lives if we're lucky, if we don't get distracted, if we're not led astray, if we have the right influencers around us. And to the point of the video, that's really why I wanted to talk about this today, is because as a community, taking on things like truth, facts, verified information, learning rational thought and thinking, trusting the people that we're talking to, knowing that they're telling us the truth and how to verify what the truth is, we don't get led astray. We're not led down the wrong path. We end up where we want to be in life. Like these people here that are putting on an entire party for culinary arts and harvest sort of information, the idea of a farmer's market, if you will. I think that's absolutely incredible to see all these people come together from the community, people that probably went to this high school when they were younger. Their kids are still here. I personally think that that's a long-lasting type of community. In audio, I wish that it was the same sort of thing. I wish there wasn't as much controversy. I wish there wasn't as much bickering and fighting over details, specifications, things like subjective opinions. I mean, do you see people in the wine industry talking about how one person or a connoisseur is right or wrong about the taste or flavor or the profiling of wine? Is that a thing? Is it a thing in cars where people, well, I guess it is with cars. I guess I can't go that far. But the whole point is, I don't know that it serves us very well to have a lot of our time wasted by bickering and talking about who said this and that. And, it's a matter of science fact, not fiction, and a matter of influence in some degree. So we need to be able to figure out who we are, where we come from, what we want to do, and build a kind of community that's going to serve us all better for the future. Because if this is your passion, you should be dedicated to improving everything, not just fighting for what you think, not just fighting for what you care about, and not just fighting about whatever someone's preferences are. I believe that there's a lot for us to learn from long-standing and legacy type of communities and make what we have better for ourselves. I mean, there are some things to prove, and there is definitely accountability for what we do. So that's number one. If we can stand on accountability, I think we have a good chance. Now, I don't know how I'm going to edit and put this video together. You know how I am about editing, but there you have it. There's my tour of the neighborhood, my high schools, my middle schools, my grade school, the influence that brought me to this position and why I'm fighting for things in this hobby, because it inspired me at such an age that I felt part of something interesting. I was inspired by the engineering. I wanted to know how it worked, and the more I got into it, the more people that I met. That's what this is really about for me. So if I stand on principles or I come off as harsh, it's because I want people to be responsible and accountable for what they're doing and building a community that's really cohesive and gaining ground rather than being stagnant, just fighting with each other. Anyhow, that's enough for me. I'm going to get out of here. I look like a weirdo with these people watching me eating their food. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Well, my friends, I guess I lied. We're still out here, except now it's sunny. And this is basically the neighborhood. This is an overview of the basic neighborhood that I was just riding. So the one school is over here. The first school that I was talking about is over this way. And the high school is up the street behind this building, way up the street. But this is what became of my old neighborhood. These buildings have been here since the 60s. Some of these buildings, same thing. This neighborhood here used to be one long mall, and then Walmart moved in a number of years ago. Almost 15 years ago now, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe more, 20. This intersection's changed more times than I can count. And on this end, they've put in one of those gigantic sort of Costco accommodated double floor plazas with some stores and a bunch of other stuff. So this is where I come to get my cheap pizza. Even though there's other pizza places around, I still think Costco is the cheapest per slice that I can get my hands on. And I just wanted to come up here for this view sort of the neighborhood in this perspective that I can see all around this area from this vantage point. And it helps me, ironically from higher up, it helps me stay grounded and remember that change is inevitable. Change happens to us all. Change happens in all systems. Change is the kind of thing that we can't change. To make a very funny point of it, I wish that would change to cloudy sky because I don't like the sun. So I guess hopefully the wind is not too bad up here. What I'm really trying to say is that it's possible to change. The things that changed us influence other change. The idea of this word influencer is the idea of change. It's a premise given to individuals who have the ability to inspire change, to influence a change from not knowing to knowing, to being not interested to being interested, to understanding from not understanding to understanding, or the opposite direction in some cases where people are saying things that are not necessarily true, but they create a dichotomy, an argument, and dialogue that doesn't serve anybody for the better. So in this video series, basically this edited tour of my neighborhood, talking about where I come from, what my background is based on, maybe give the audience a little bit more idea where I come from in terms of speaking to certain things, saying things a certain way, my behavior, my sense of humor. You're not going to get the whole picture in one video, so let's be real. But I hope that it enlightens some little bit of why I do the things that I do, why I do the things that I'm doing, how I'm doing them this way, and the reason why I like to fight for the community in such a way to make people accountable for what they're saying. Because as a influencer, whether you like it or not, if you're a public figure in some denomination or another, you have an effect. And if you're not accountable for the things that you say, I don't know how trusted you should be. It's up to any individual to figure that out. It's not up to me to say who or what you should trust or what you should believe in. All I'm saying is there are reasons why we turn to things in our life. There are things that have happened to all of us that create an effect. Some people speak to those things, and some other people actually use psychological things to manipulate you. So being aware of how it all works is the best tool that you have to judge me, to criticize me, to analyze others, to understand what other people are saying, to understand the facts, to use scientific charts and measurements and details to verify the things that people say, the difference between objective data and subjective experiences, opinion versus fact. It's important to navigate through this industry, through any industry, through politics, through healthcare, through anything that we have going on in life. It's important. So that's what this video stems to display, showcasing the fact that I'm in my neighborhood. And this is but one neighborhood and one area of influence that I've had, and many others have many, many more in their lives. You know, so it's just to say that who's who and what are they talking about? How do we verify what they're saying? Watch this storm sort of roll in over the neighborhood. I am close enough to home now that I can go inside and just watch from here. I like a good storm. Storms are nice. That's enough for me. I hope to see you in the future. I hope you're having a good day. Join me for a live session whenever I happen to go live. Notifications, follow, subscribe. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the same name. If you guys are interested, there's a Discord. It is what it is. We are who we are. And the things that we want to know that are important, I think that deserve some time and attention. Anyhow, catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this one. Bye.